morning, everybody. Now, today I am going to continue with the genetics revision for the midterm topic. Okay, so here we are moving into the Mendel's experiment. Last class we have discussed about Mendel's history, a profile of Mendel. Now, today we are moving into the studies he has done in the field of genetics. So when we move into genetics, already we said it is the study of heredity and variations. And variation can be due to many reasons. The first and foremost, it is due to sexual reproduction. In that, while in the formation of gamete formation, there is crossing over and there can be recombination that can lead to variation. The second reason for variation in the generation, it is due to mutation. Mutation means it is a sudden change in the genetic makeup of an organism. Now we'll move on to Mendel experiment. As you all know, Mendel is honored as the father of genetics. So he conducted his hybridization experiments on garden pea, that is Pisum sativum, for 7 years and proposed his findings in an obscure journal that itself has become a one of the reason for the other scientists for not noticing for nearly about 35 years. All those things we have dealt in the previous module. Now we will move on to why he selected the pea plant. It is why the pea plant has become favorite specimen for him means because pea has many distinct contrasting characters. Say for example, he has taken 7 contrasting characters. The one is, if it is, what do you mean by contrasting character means the characters will be opposing each other. So if the flower is having purple color means the other type will have white color. So very easily distinguishing characters we can very easily distinguish, then it is coming under the category of contrasting characters. Then the second one is that he selected mainly because the lifespan of pea plant is very short. It is nearly about 6 months. So within 6 months he can study the F1 generation, that means the next generation. Like that, many generations he studied within a short span of time. Then the next one, the flowers only. The flowers is very easy to conduct the self-pollination because they follows the vexillary aestivation. So that means the sex organs will be covered by the keel petal. And at the same time, it is also easy for conducting the cross-pollination because here with the help of a brush he can collect the pollen and he can dust it on this one, and the keel petal itself will cover it, and apart from that he covered after the emasculation he covered the flower with the plastic cover also. So there won't be any chance of getting unwanted pollen into the female part of the flower. So that is why this flower is very easily can be handled for both purpose, as well as that is for self-pollination as well as for cross-pollination. Then the third one it is, next one it is the seeds in a particular generation. The pea produce many seeds in a single generation. So that means a large sample can be studied for the each and every steps. Okay, large number of samples, and from that he deduced the ratios and he analyzed it mathematically and statistically, and he presented that in the form of ratios, mathematical ratios. So all these factors came for the success, or has given a major step ahead of the other findings of other scientists of his time. But that itself, because his ideas and presentations were ahead of his time, that is why he couldn't get the attention of from other scientists of his time. Now we will move on to the next one. What do you mean by artificial hybridization? Because that is a main method he has followed, which was different from his contemporary scientists. Mendel conducted artificial hybridization, or we can say cross-pollination by controlled pollination, using true breeding pea lines. So what do you mean by true breeding pea lines? That is, every time when we are self-fertilizing, it should produce only that particular character. So that means they are pure for that character. They should contain the factors for that particular trait alone. Then there should not be any variation. So for that, how he generated that true breeding plants, that is he continuously conducted self pollination, that is around 7 generations. Okay, 7 generation he crossed tall with the tall itself and made sure that in the next generation also that plant is producing only tall character. In any step for a continuous 7 generation he has conducted, and then he in between, if any deviation from that, means that particular plant will be eliminated. So like that, continuous 7 generation, in all the 7 generation that particular plant is producing only that particular trait. Say for example, which one, the tall character alone, then that type is selected as the parental generation. In that way he selected 2 contrasting character, that is height of the plant is considered means tall as the male parent and dwarf as the female parent, or in reverse also. Anyway, whatever it is, that is the selection procedure he adopted for selecting the parental generation. Then after selecting the parental generation, he did the hybridization experiment. How he has done the hybridization experiment means, first one, it is emasculation. What do you mean by emasculation? The emasculation is the removal of anther when the flower is in bud condition. In which type of flower do we have to do the emasculation? That is in female flower, because the female flower, pea plant by nature, it is a bisexual flower. That means both male and female part will be there. So in the the plant which is selecting as the female, and from that the flower will be selected, and that flower, when it is in bud condition, the male part, that is the anther, will be removed when the flower is in bud condition. Then it will be covered by a plastic cover or a porcelain cover, whatever it is, that is to prevent the entry of unwanted anther, unwanted pollen from any other plants. So he ensured that the flower which is selected as the for the female flower is pure for that particular trait. There is no contamination for that one. So that is called as emasculation. After that he has done the hybridization, that is when the flower is maturing, the male from the male plant, the male flower, the pollen will be taken with the help of a brush, and it will be transferred into the female flower. Then it will be dusted onto the stigma of that and allow the flower, again he will cover it with a plastic cover, that is to prevent the contamination of any other pollen thereafter. Okay, then it can be covered and allow to form the seeds. Once the seeds are formed, he can very easily raise the next generation. So this method he adopted for all his techniques, and he was able to get a very good number of samples for studying the inheritance pattern of the characters what he selected in his experiments. Then what was the success behind his experiments? That is, first one, he studied only one character at a time, and that too, that character showing contrasting expressions. Then he used emasculation techniques that we have explained already. Then he applied the mathematical and statistical approach. Suppose he is raising 1000 plants, out of that he will count how many tall and how many dwarf. That is, say for example, if it is 600 and 400, like that way, means he reduced that one into the ratios, that is 3:1 in that way, or some approximately in that way. He reduce all that wide result or a very large result he concentrated or he concluded in the form of ratios. So that also has become one of the major success behind him, because the method he used was mathematics and statistics. Then he selected not only one character, he selected 7 contrasting characters, and he first conducted the monohybrid, that means studied one character at a time. When he got the result, he took the next step, that is in the next step 2 characters at a time, and then that is he named it as dihybrid ratio, and he recorded the results, and there also a statistical progression pattern of result he got it. Then tri-hybrid he conducted, and like that way all the different types of characters he studied, and he presented his paper. All the paper, the result he expressed in the form of ratios. Then the last one it is, he studied, not only he didn't stop with one generation alone, he studied F1 generation, F2 generation, and he deduced all his findings, all his assumptions he deduced and formulated, and he put it in the form of generalized pattern in the paper. But even then he didn't propose any laws and all. That is later his succeeders, that is successors, they found out, and then they honored him and they formulated 3 laws, and that laws are later named as Mendel's law. Now we'll move on to the next one, that is which all characters he has selected for his studies in the P. And that is characters, whenever we are mentioning, the characters can appear in alternate forms. That is, the character is controlled by a factor. The factors can be in 2 different alternate forms. That only we'll call it as allele. So each character, the trait can be of 2 different types. Either it can be dominant trait or it can be recessive trait. So he has selected 7 characters. So the extreme left side is the character, on the right side it is the alternate forms of the traits. So here the first one, it is stem height he has taken. The height itself is expressed by the P plant in 2 different forms, that is tall and dwarf. And that tall is the dominant and dwarf is the recessive. That means if tall can express its character, and never it will be suppressed. Even one allele is enough for expressing that tallness. Then the next one, it is flower color, violet and white, flower position, axial and terminal, pod shape, inflated and constricted, pod color, green and yellow, seed shape, round and wrinkled, seed color, yellow and green. Here you have to make sure that pod color and seed color, the traits are almost same. So the pod color is green and yellow, that is green is dominant and yellow is recessive. Whereas in seed color, just the reverse, that is yellow is the dominant and green is the recessive. So that you have to keep it in your mind whenever you are writing the exam. Okay, so pod color, green is the dominant, and seed color, yellow is the recessive. Now we'll move on to the next one. Why his findings were unnoticed for nearly around 30 years? Because his his studies were ahead of his time, because even though he studied biology, at the same time he was very well versed in mathematics. So he clubbed these 2 branches of the science. At that time the majority of the biologists were not familiar with mathematics, because they have to opt only biology. They were not that much familiar with mathematics. But Mendel has got an advantage. He was able to study both mathematics as well as the biology in his younger ages. So he clubbed these 2 together and presented his paper in a numerical pattern. That is, when we say numerical pattern, means all the results were 3:1 ratio, 1:2:1 ratio, 9:3:3:1 ratio. And in that pattern it was given, because that time the biologist was not familiar with statistical approach of studies. So that itself has become one of the major drawback for not noticing his work at that time by his contemporary scientists. The second one is quantitative analysis. This is somewhat the similar topic, because he presented the result in numerical method. That was not familiar of that particular scientist of his ages. Then his findings was ahead of his time, very well advanced, and graphical representation, etc., etc., he has produced. Then it was published in an obscure journal, that is National Science Journal only he has produced, and that was in his own province itself. So it was majority of the scientists were not accessible to his work, because that was not that much of famous journal. Then the next one, it is scientists were busy with Darwin's theory of origin of species by natural selection, because Darwin and Mendel were almost the same period, and that time only the Darwin introduced with that all the human beings were originated from monkeys, which was against the Christian beliefs and all. So almost all majority of the scientists they brought, or he was able to, Darwin was able to bring the whole scientist's attention towards his papers, and quite naturally the Mendel's papers what he published in an obscure journal was neglected by majority because of this lack of attention from other scientists. Then in his later studies, later years, when he presented this paper to his contemporary, that is Nageli, we'll say, another scientist. So Nageli, he said, okay, you have done in people, and why can't you go for one more specimen? Then automatically, if it is correct result, means we can present it again. In that way, it was guided by the Nageli, and he suggested another species, that is Hieracium, which is called as hawkweed. And Mendel, he started his experiments in hawkweed, but to his unlucky nature, this Hieracium was an exceptional plant which was showing linkage. So that time when he did his experiments in Hieracium, he was not able to do or able to get the same ratios what he was doing, what he was getting in pea plant, that is 3:1 ratio. When he studied one character at a time, two characters, 9:3 3:1, it was showing, because later we came to know why it was, because this Hieracium was showing the linkage tendency. So then Mendel, he thought that all his studies were not the proper way, and it was not done properly, and in a total misunderstanding as well as total depression. And at the same time, at that time he was facing with old age problems and all. He lost his eyesight, and completely desperate man, in such a way only he passed away from that particular period. But later it was rediscovered, already I mentioned in the first this one, by three other scientists, and it was brought to the notice of the whole scientific community. Now we'll move on to the next one, the terms only, because 2-3 terms we have to mention it, that not now. Then this is the his method, what he followed. He first step is monohybrid cross. So what do you mean by monohybrid cross? Mendel, he selected two parents, that is pure for that. So here in this typical example, he selected the plant height, the character plant height, and two alternate parents he has selected. One is pure for that tall character, the other one is pure for that dwarf character. So whenever you represent the this one, here you have to write parental generation, P1 you have to write, and the both phenotype means expressible character, and its genetic makeup also you have to write, that is genotype, and both sides you have to write it, and you have to cross it. So the next one, it is G1 means gamete which is formed from the P1, that is gametes always you have to represent in capital T, that is here in tall means capital T in circle, and here it is dwarf means small t in circle. And he crossed this one, and he got in F1 all tall. So whenever you are writing here, you have to write all tall. Then he raised the F2. How he raised the F2 means crossing F1 into F1. So that is capital T small t, and here it is capital T small t. Here it is pure tall, and here it is pure dwarf. But this F1, F2 he raised by crossing the F1 into F1, and that is why capital T small t here, capital T small t here. And here the gamete formation is entirely different. Here it is capital T, here it is small t, and here it is capital T small t. And later he concluded that in F2, when he raised the F2, he got 3:1. That means out of total offsprings which is formed, 3 members, 3/4 of them were tall, and one dwarf, and 3/4 of them were tall. So that ratio is called as phenotypic ratio. The second one, it is that tall itself is varying, showing differences, and that is genotypic ratio 1:2:1. Now we'll move on to the next one, that is the definition. So when he after conducting all these experiments, they framed with, or he postulated many, this one, now we are calling it as allele and all. Anyway, we have to learn the definitions. What do you mean by dominant allele? So dominant allele means the allele which express in homozygous as well as in heterozygous condition. That means if you are saying tall, the tall can be of capital T, or it can be capital T, small t. So what do you mean by heterozygous? Means here it is coming. Heterozygous means homozygous means it is for a particular trait the homozygous contains two similar alleles. So dwarf is a typical example. Dwarf can appear only in homozygous condition because it is controlled by similar type of alleles and which can express only in the presence of that same type only. The other one is heterozygous. Heterozygous means for a particular trait heterozygous contain two different alleles. If we are taking tall, capital T and small t means it is two entirely different contrasting forms of alleles can be present. Then the next point is it can produce only one type of gamete. That is pure tall means it will produce only the gametes contain only capital T only, whereas heterozygous means capital T small t, and they will produce 50% of the gametes will be capital T bearing gametes and 50% of the gametes will be small t bearing gametes. And the third criteria is for homozygous the genotype contains either recessive or dominant, never both the alleles. So it can be either pure tall or it can be either pure dwarf. Whereas in heterozygous means it can be even though we say the tall plant, but it can appear in two different forms. That is, it can be either homozygous tall or it can be heterozygous tall. So what do you mean by heterozygous tall? It contains two contrasting forms of allele. That means capital T and small t. So that is one of the main contrasting form. Then we'll move on to dominant allele, recessive allele, etc. So what do you mean by dominant allele? The allele which can dominate the expression of the other contrasting form, that is called as dominant allele. So here the allele which express in homozygous as well as in heterozygous condition. So tall, when we are saying tall can be capital T or capital T small t. So in that case the tall character will be expressed always, and it at the same time it also can suppress the expression of the recessive allele. So capital T small t is coming together means actually the allele T dominate and suppress the expression of the recessive allele, that is small. In the presence of capital T, small t cannot express its character. That is why the heterozygous condition always exhibited in the form of tall. Okay, the recessive allele, the allele which cannot express in the presence of dominant allele, or the allele which is suppressed by the dominant allele, is called as recessive allele. So if you are taking white flower color, that is the V, or any notation you can use, either P, purple P, or small p you can use. So small p will be the recessive offspring. The white flower means always we will write small p. Then dwarf means small t. Like that way only the allele which is suppressed by or which can express only in the homozygous condition alone, we can call it as that allele as the recessive allele. Then Mendel, he conducted one more cross, that is called as reciprocal cross. That is, when he conducted monohybrid cross, he got 3:1 ratio. So in order to find whether the result will be the same in all other different types, that means one of the major step he has done, he reversed the sex of that one. So here reciprocal, that cross is called as reciprocal cross. So that means the cross between two individuals by interchanging their sex after a normal cross. That means in first case he has done tall as the male means dwarf, and dwarf as the female means. The second step he has reversed the sex, that is dwarf as the male and tall as the female. But he got in both the this one normal cross as well as in reciprocal cross, he got the same result, that is which one? The 3:1. Then he didn't stop with the normal cross and the reciprocal cross. He conducted one more cross, because in F1 when he crossed tall into dwarf, F1 he got tall, and when he crossed tall into tall, that is F1 tall into F1 tall, that is tall into tall, in F2 he got 3/4 of them tall and 1/4 of them dwarf. So he had a doubt, that is the F1 tall and the F2 tall, F1 tall and F2 tall, there are some differences, because that is why in F1 even though tall into tall, when he tall into dwarf, when he crossed he got all tall, And in the when he raised the F2 by crossing F1 tall into tall, even then there was no dwarf at all, but even then he was able to find the retrieve that dwarf from the from crossing of tall parents. So he, in order to find out what actually the difference between the F1 tall and F2 tall, he conducted the next series of experiment that is called as test cross. So what he did is he crossed F1 tall with a dwarf plant. Okay, F1 tall with a dwarf plant, in order to find out, that is, whether that F1 tall is pure for that character or not. So to his surprise, when he crossed this F1 tall with a dwarf plant, he got 1:1 ratio, that is 50% of them were tall and the other 50% of them were dwarf. So from this he concluded that the this type of test can be used for knowing the unknown genotype of an organism. Okay, unknown genotype of a dominant organism. Okay, a plant, if it is expressing a dominant trait, it can appear in two different forms. Either they can be pure for that particular character, that means homozygous, or it can be even heterozygous. So in order to find out that the cross can be done, that is the unknown genotype, or which plant you have to find out the genotype, that can be directly crossed with a recessive organism. And in that, if you are getting 50-50 or 1:1 ratio, then you can say that particular unknown genotype is heterozygous. It is not pure, that is why dwarf appears. Instead of that, another one, if they are getting all tall, means we can assume that it is homozygous. Okay, that is it is homozygous. Okay, that is capital T into small t means in the F1 you will get all, or when you are racing, the result it will be all tall. So all tall you are getting means you can assume that the parental or the genotype, unknown genotype, is pure for that particular character. So test cross can be used to find out the genotype of a dominant trait. So this is very important. Always they'll ask, and the representation also is very important. Then the next one, we'll move on to monohybrid cross, the difference between monohybrid cross and the dihybrid cross. So what do you mean by monohybrid cross? The cross between two individuals of a species which differ in one contrasting character. Okay, which differ in one contrasting character. That means the rest all characters will be the same, but only one contrasting character. So here typical Mendelian ratio, that is tall into dwarf. And in the next step he adopted the second one, that is the dihybrid cross, that is a cross between two individuals of a species where it differs in two contrasting characters. So the typical dihybrid cross is the seed color and the seed shape. So seed shape is, dominant trait is round and recessive trait is wrinkled. And seed color, the dominant trait is yellow and the recessive trait is green. So round yellow with a pure round yellow, that is capital R, capital Y, with wrinkled green seed, that is small r, small y, small y. So this type, and in that, so monohybrid cross itself, we can say monohybrid cross 3:1 ratio means dihybrid cross 9:3:1 ratio. And there are many ratios we have to learn. Monohybrid genotypic ratio, 3:1 ratio, we have to say monohybrid phenotypic ratio, expressible character. And genotypic ratio, when you are saying monohybrid, genotypic ratio means you have to say 1:2:1, and it is genotype only. Under the genotype you have to write capital T. Under 1 you have to write capital T. Under 2 you have to write capital T, small t, and on the next one you have to write capital T, small t. Then dihybrid ratio means it is 9:3:1 is the dihybrid ratio. And genotypic ratio, you cannot frame that 1:2:1 ratio like that. You have to write the genotype one by one, and then you have to formulate it 1:2:2, 1:2:2, like that it will be varying. So now we'll move on to the one more method of representation of this cross, that is Punnett square. Punnett square means it is proposed by the scientist R.C. Punnett. So what do you mean by Punnett square? Because when we move into dihybrid ratio, the gametic combination itself will be 4. So 4 gametic combination from the parental and 4 gametic combination from the female parent. So that will, when you are crossing with the pen and pencil, it will be very confusing. So instead of that, R.C. Punnett, Reginald C. Punnett, he formulated a graphical representation in a checkerboard pattern, and that is called as Punnett square. So it is a graphical representation to calculate the probability of possible genotype of offsprings in a genetic cross is called as Punnett square. The possible gametes can be written on both sides, usually top row and left column. Mostly, as per the rule, the top row it should be the male gamete, and the left side it should be the female gamete, and all possible combinations are represented in boxes below in the squares, which generate a square output pattern. It is used to understand the possible gametic combinations and the genotypic and phenotypic combinations of that gene. So this is a typical Punnett square representation. You see here, this is the parental generation, that is capital R pink flower. This is just for example I have taken. So here the gametes from this parent, 2 types of gametes can be pink into pink. When you are crossing, you will get 2 gametes, that is, one is capital R, the male, and here it is the male, another gamete. Here the female, and the top row means on the other side, that is male gamete, capital R and small r. So male gametes always, if you are reversing it in the square pattern, means the top side, this will be coming in this way, top side it is male, and the left side it is female gamete. So when you are raising it, you are crossing it R into R again. Here it is anterenum, the incomplete dominance only I have given, so the dominant trait will be there, and like that way the result will be producing. Anyway, in the form of a graphical recording, if you are representing, then it is called as Punnett square. Then a few more definitions. With that I will finish today's module. That is, what do you mean by genetics? Genetics is a branch of biology which deals with study of heredity and variation. Then what do you mean by allele? Allele means the alternate forms or the slightly different forms of a gene which occupies the same locus. That is very important, which occupies the same locus on the homologous chromosomes and control the same character. So normally there is each character, that is height of the plant means 2 alleles can be, one can be tall or the dwarf, and that is normal cases. There are deviations that we will deal in multiple allelism. So they are located in the same locus. Then the next term it is gene. That is, Mendel, he formulated gene instead of gene, he framed it as factors only. Whatever it is, they are the hereditary units which are located in the DNA, and the DNA is located, or DNA consists of the chromosome consists of DNA. So we can say these are the units of inheritance. It is the functional segment of the DNA, and it can express as a character or can code for a polypeptide. Because height of the plant, we can say it is character. Okay, height of the plant is called as character. But when we go for blood group, the blood group is depending upon the type of a polypeptide, or a not blood group, or an enzyme. If you are going for an enzyme, the enzyme is made up, all the enzymes are proteins, and all the proteins are made up of amino acids, and the proteins, individual units of proteins are made up of polypeptide. So either it can be expressed as a character or it can be expressed as a polypeptide within the body. So the gene means which regulate, it is the hereditary unit which regulate the expression of a character or which can code for a polypeptide. Then the next one, phenotype. Phenotype means it is the observable or measurable physical expression of an organism. What do you mean? What is the difference between observable or measurable? Observable means the character which can be observed with our naked eye, that is called as observable. So height of a plant, very easily we can distinguish whether it is tall or dwarf. But when we are going for blood group, we cannot distinguish whether that person is having the group A or group B on his RBC. It has to be measured. How will you measure the blood group? We will take the blood sample from the person and spread it on the slide, and we'll observe it through the microscope or with the help of many solutions and all, ROGAM solution and all we'll say, that means which contain antibody. So with the help of that we can find out. So it has to be measured, so it need not always to be observable, but some cases it has to be measured. So whatever it is, the phenotype means it is observable or measurable, or physical expression of an organism is called as phenotype. Then the next one, it is genotype. So a person can be tall, and in his genetic makeup, the tall can be either in homozygous or in heterozygous. So to find out that only, we have to go for the genetic constitution, the genetic makeup of an organism, collectively we'll call it as genotype. So the tallness can appear in two different forms of genotype. Either it can be homozygous, that is capital T, or it can be capital T small t, heterozygous. So to the genotype, the word meaning is the genetic combination of an organism is called as genotype. Now we will conclude with this session, and in the next module we will discuss the Mendel laws and deviations of Mendel laws and all, we will discuss it. So thank you for listening to my session. All the best.